Hello, welcome to Vari-Lite headquarters here in Dallas, Texas, USA, where we're excited to announce a brand new line of lighting consoles. Now, we've got a lot to tell you about, so we hope you're ready and we hope you're excited because we are. Now, without any further ado, let's get started. the Neo X Series. 2 brand new consoles from Vari-Lite, the X15 and the X5, due out early next year. These are both premium consoles designed to work in a variety of applications. Now, you may be asking yourself, why do a new console now? After all, Vari-Lite luminaires work with a variety of different console manufacturers, and we even use GDTF so that our luminaires will work with any console that uses the GDTF standard. Well, we asked our product manager, John Hull, that very question. And this is what he had to say.
When we look at the productions that venues are putting on, they have a bigger range of shows. It might not just be theatre in one venue and just concerts in another venue, but there's a range of concerts, theatre, dance, comedy, conferences. Traditionally, consoles have been pigeonholed into this is a theatrical console, this is a live event console. But we think venues and productions are merging, they're blurring the lines between those two, and they have been for several years now. And although consoles are starting to blur those lines, we wanted to ensure that we were completely neutral. We were equally as good at either of these two styles of programming and styles of events. And so when we were looking at Neo X, we wanted to ensure that it was a really great theatrical console, but it was a really great busking console as well. And that affected both the decisions on hardware and the decisions on the software. We spent a lot of time talking to both programmers and designers that have worked in both theatre and live event touring, and really spend time discussing those smaller features, not the headline features, but things like blind and highlight and those sorts of features to ensure that they are designed and they can cope with both the needs of live event touring and theatre. The very center of the X15 is our master playback, a very traditionally theatrical user interface. It doesn't mean it's not suitable for concerts as well, but traditionally it's theatrical. But we've also given a good number of motorized faders with a good number of buttons and encoders and UI elements to make hands-on control really quick and easy on the console. A lot of touchscreen real estate, both in terms of the 7-inch touchscreen, which allows you to interact with parameters in a really intuitive way, and the built-in console. So if you're touring the console, you're having to move the console, you don't need to move lots of equipment. It's just pick up one console and move it. Today, Vari-Lite are known for making premium quality luminaires across static and moving light fixtures. But historically, they also made the first moving light console. So when we decided to launch a new Vari-Lite console, our research and development team were meticulously careful to select components to achieve these high demanding requirements. They picked Bourne motorized faders, they picked cherry keys, and they picked all Nutric connectors. We spent a lot of time ensuring the mechanical enclosure of Neo X Series was ready for whatever you might throw at it. We spent time ensuring that things like the hinge screens would be reliable time after time. We spent time ensuring that all the components internally would be just as powerful now as they will be in 5 years' time with whatever new software features we throw at it. So the graphics and the processing are a super high standard. We have gone through the software with a fine-tooth comb with teams doing testing and feedback to ensure that we have absolutely focused on reliability of the Neo X Series. But we also wanted to ensure that it was intuitive, it was quick, it was easy, it was fun to use, and you could be proud of all the features, both hardware and software, that comes with your new console. We've reimagined the user interface of the Neo software to make it really touch-friendly and really intuitive to move windows, open windows, drag windows around, save them, recall them, and just get to the data that you need quickly and easily. And that will be available in the Neo V4 software that is launching at the same time as the Neo X Series. We've also rethought each and every individual window to make sure it's intuitive, it's simple, it's touch-friendly, and so you can just get to stuff that you need to get to quickly. We've really focused on ensuring that you know how to use this console to the best of your ability and you can get the most out of it.
Thanks, John. Really appreciate your time. Now, one thing we know is that a console or even a luminaire is only as good as the person using it, the person operating it. We've always believed that we just make the tools, and it's the designers who bring those tools to life. And for the console, that's never going to happen if you don't have confidence in how the console works, that it's going to operate effectively, and that you're going to know how to make it do what you want to do, and to open up new opportunities for creativity. Which means having good training and having good support. To talk a little bit more about our training and support programs, I'm going to turn you over to Edward, who's going to tell you all about it.
Hello, I'm Edward, Entertainment Controls Product Specialist at Vari-Lite. I'm here with the Vari-Lite Neo X console. We really want to make sure you get the most out of the console. So we've got all sorts of different ways we can help you. We've got live online training sessions. We've got regular training sessions scheduled. We've got an online interactive manual. We've got various different training videos on our YouTube channel as well. A series of those are in-person videos in this kind of format where I talk you through how to use the console. But as well as those, we've actually got over 40 training videos directly on the console. Those are also available on the YouTube channel as well. And so I can go to the training page here on the console, I can go and choose a topic, and I can actually then go and make that full screen and watch my training video on my console whilst following along to what I'm learning. We're actually going to take a look at the first of the kind of in-person presented videos, which is going to talk you through some of the hardware and the rear connectors and some of the screens that we can see, to give you a bit more of an idea of the console. We've got our playback faders. If we record onto them, we can just have a single lighting state on a submaster, or we can actually have cue lists on here. So we can have multiple cue lists at one time. The cue stacks are a strip here. We've got two buttons at the bottom, we've got the fader, we've got a select button at the top, and we have an encoder as well. The encoder can be configured so that it could adjust the hue or the effect speed of our playback here. But equally, you can also put the console into what we call wide mode, so that these are actually another set of playbacks, so that they control the intensity of separate playbacks. We've got the 15 faders here on our X15, and we've got 5 playback faders on the X5 console. Above those, we have our shortcut keys, or what we call our X keys. They are by default shortcut controls. Again, we've got 15 of those on the X15, 5 of those on the X5. We've got page buttons which page through our playback faders here. Moving along, we've then got our master playback controls, so that those allow us to control the currently selected cue list on the console. The faders by default are linked, but you can, if you want to, start to separate them out and customize the functionality of the faders. And then to the right of that, we've got our main programming section, including a syntax number pad there available. And then moving further right, we've then got our 7-inch touchscreen. This allows us to access extra command keys that we've not got on the console, but also allow us quick access to groups, or allow us to access our color picker on the console as well. Above that, we've then got our 5 encoder wheels plus intensity wheel. The encoder wheels allow you to adjust items such as fixture controls. They allow us to access and control our views on the console. And as well as that, we have associated up and down buttons for each one of the encoders. Top right of the console, we have our Grandmaster section, so a associated Grandmaster button and fader, and we've also got a pot here. By default, that is the master fade time on the console. It allows you to add a fade time to syntax commands, for example, but the functionality of those can be configured. That then leads us nicely onto the large touchscreens themselves, and we'll talk about what we can see on those shortly. And in between those touchscreens, we have got our S keys here. By default, they are our layout selections, so they can choose what our screens do. On the X15, we have got the 2 touchscreens. On the X5, we've just got the single touchscreen there. But on both consoles, you can connect 2 additional high-definition external monitors. We've then got our pot here at the top. By default, this allows you to very quickly adjust the console brightness to dim the brightness of the console if needed. So that's some of the front panel controls we've got. We've also got a USB-C port here, top left of the console. And because we're on the X15, we've also got a keyboard drawer here. So we can access that to a quick naming of various items. And we've also got our desk light here that we can adjust the brightness of. And we've got audio outputs for connecting headphones and USB ports on the front of the X15. So let's pop round the back and take a look at some of the rear connections. So this is the rear of the Neo X15 console. We'll start over here on the right-hand side. Up the top here, we've got our audio section. So we've got a XLR for audio input, and as well as that, we've got a pair of balanced XLR outputs for audio left and right. Primary purpose of that is if you may have an audio track loaded into the console that you've then gone in and put time code points in, so you can synchronize an audio track with your various lighting cues. And also for sound effects. You might want to have sound effects loaded in the console, which again, you can have stabs of light synchronized too. So you can press go on the console to trigger both that sound effect and the lighting simultaneously. Below that, you've then got your SMPTE LTC. That's in and out on 3-pin XLRs again. Moving over, we've then got our MIDI connections in, out, and through. Those are for supporting MIDI timecode and various other MIDI trigger protocols as well. Moving over further on, along the bottom here, you've then got your DMX connections on your 5-pin XLRs. You've got on the X15 here 4 DMX outputs here, along with a DMX input port for remote triggering. Above that, you've then got your network ports. One of those is labeled LAN, one of them is labeled WAN, but they are fully customizable. They are separate network interfaces. You can configure them how you wish, but you've got that labeling there to help you out know which is which. And of course, the network protocols, they can be used for remote connections, various protocols, including streaming ACN and ArtNet. In total on the console, you have got 100 universes with no fixture limit. So you can start to route that out of your physical outputs or, of course, over the network. So that's your pair of network ports. Those are on EtherCon connections. Moving on from that, we've then got a pair of USB-C ports. You also have got a USB-C port on the front of the console next to the inbuilt touchscreen. Moving on from that, at the top here, we've got a pair of DisplayPort outputs. They're capable of driving a 4K monitor each. And below the DisplayPorts, you've then got a USB a 3.0 connection as well, kind of designed for if your 4K DisplayPort screens are multi-touch screens, you can plug the touchscreen into the USB there. We then have our fans here, and they have easy access filters, so you can remove that and clean them every once in a while, certainly if you're in a more dusty environment. And then we've got our power input. That is a locking PowerCon True 1 connector. And you'll notice that next to that, there is no power switch. The reason for that is you don't want your console just being forced to power off by flicking the switch. And so to power up and down the console, you have got a button on the front of the console. Press that, the console will automatically boot up. Press it again, it will automatically shut down. And then we've also, on the console, we've got one here and one on the other side as well. You've got your console light, and that can be dimmed along with all of the other illuminated parts of the front panel that can all dim up and down together. So that is the rear panel of the X15. So let's take a look at the rear panel of the X5 as well. So this is the back of the X5. We've got a pair of 5-pin XLR connectors there and a DMX in port as well. Above those, we do have our network ports. So with those, we can output, again, 100 universes of DMX over the network. One is labeled WAN, one is labeled LAN, just like the X15, but they are fully customizable network interfaces. So you could have one for connected to the internet, whilst the other is outputting your streaming ACN or hotnet. Then we've got our USB-C connectors. We've got a pair on the back. And we do have one on the front, just to the top left of the tablet holder. And then again, we've got the ability to drive 2 external 4K monitors, and they can be touchscreens using those USB connectors there. We've got one fan on the back, and then just like the X15, we do have the locking PowerCon True 1 connector as well. And on the X5, we have a single console light. Again, that can be dimmed up and down along with the rest of the console brightness. So now that we've taken a look at the hardware, let's take a look at our screens that we've got on the console here. So the right-hand screen here, that's our main display. Running along the top, we've got various different functions. We've got some select keys, some intensity controls. We've also got some quick record options. And then on the far right here, we've also got some quick access. So that was part of the first video. Do go and check out the rest of that video along with the rest of in the series on our YouTube channel. And as well as that, we also have how-to videos directly on the console here, and those are also available on YouTube as well. I've got my visualizer here connected using CITP, and we're just going to work through kind of the process that you might use to create lighting state for concert, for example. I've got my trailer stage project here in Capture that I've got running. And so I'm going to go and work on that. So I'm going to go and minimize my training page there, and I'm actually going to go and, first things first, go and open my magic sheet, just so allow me to edit and view my rig a little bit more graphically. I'm going to go and take this playback fader down and create a new lighting state. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab my front light here, and I'm just going to go and up those a little bit just to bring a little bit of front light there. I don't want too much, that's fine. I'm going to go and add some backlight in there now. So I'm going to go and say that I want 23 through full. That's quite narrow, let's widen that out. So I'm going to go to Edge, let's grab some diffusion on there and zoom that. I'm going to bring those further downstage, a bit of backlight. And I'm going to use my color picker, and we'll have them in something like that. That'll do, that's fine. And we'll go and grab some buttons along the back that we've got in our matrix. So I'm going to go and minimize my magic sheet a moment. I'm going to go and open my effects editor. And for this, we've got various effects engines in here that I could go and use, but I am actually going to go and use one of my pre-programmed paint box effects that we've already got. So let's go and grab that. And I'm going to go and select matrix 1. And I'm going to go and set them at 20%. That's very bright. I'll actually bring them right the way down to 10%. I've got a paint box effect here. It's just a red to blue transition. So let's go ahead and play that. Then I can start to choose whether that color ripples from the out to the edge or vice versa. I might want to go and actually bring that in from the center. If we actually had video content, we could go and apply that using a matrix effect if we wanted to. But I'm going to stick with the paint box effect here for now, and let's get that running again. So I'm happy with that, but let's add in some beams from the back. So I'm going to go and say that I want 45 through. Let's bring them up. Let's go to position. Let's go and pan those out a little bit. And let's tilt those. That's fine. Let's go and pop a gobo in those. Let's go and grab a gobo. And I'm then going to go to my gobo mode here on the sidebar and say that I want that to be in rotation mode. We can go and grab some rotation on there. That's fine. I'm happy with that. I'm going to go back to my magic sheet now. I could open the magic sheet on this screen, of course, but I'm going to keep it on this screen for now. And I'm going to go and grab my VL800s, and let's go ahead and full those. I'm going to go to Edge, let's zoom those right in. I've got my palettes window open here, so I'm going to actually go and put them in a pre-programmed position that we've already got. Let's put a bit of movement on there. So rather than using one of the effects libraries that we saw there, I'm actually going to go and use my effects library here. I'm going to go and put a simple circle effect on those. That's running over far too large an area, so let's go and scale that right down. Bring that down on stage. That's still running over quite a large area, so let's go back to our effect controls, and I'm going to go and bring down the offset and increase the scale of that, and then let's go back to position and fine-tune that a little bit. Well, there we go, I'm happy with that. And now I've got that lighting state saved, created. I am going to store that. I could choose to store that into various locations. I'm actually going to go and store it onto a sub fader, so I've got live control of that. So I'm going to go ahead and tap record, and I'm going to go and stick this on sub number 19 here, because I'm on page 2. So I've now got that running, so I can go ahead and double tap clear. That's going to continue to run. And now I've got that, I can start to crossfade between other effects that I might have pre-programmed on the console. Start to transition between some of those effects like so. So that's kind of how I might use the console for kind of busking. Equally though, I can start to do more on the fly stuff. If you haven't even got any subs programmed yet, I might want to go and say 61 through, enter, to grab those. I'm going to zoom those right the way in. I'm then going to use my fade time pot here on the console to add a fade time, and that means that if I tap full, those fixtures are then going to fade to there using the fade time. If I go and apply a palette, they're then going to fade over that time as well. So I can actually start to busk between some of these palettes live on the fly. I'm going to go and release that. Again, release, those fixtures are going to fade out using that programmer time. I'm going to go and dial programmer time back down to 0 there. And then I can fade to black using my sub. So that's how I might want to use the console for kind of live busking and on-the-fly concert operation. But equally, I've got my master playback faders here for more theatre work. So I'm going to go and select that. I can see it in my sidebar here, and I'm going to press go to go into my first cue. And I can then start to step through some of my pre-programmed cues here for more theatrical operation. So you can see there that you can really use the console how you want to, and it all depends on really how much programming time you've got for your particular event. To learn more, do go ahead and check out the training sessions on our YouTube channel and on the console to learn more about all of the various features that we've just used. But for now, let's head back to Kyle.
So we really appreciate your time today. Thanks to Edward for taking time to talk us through all the trainings programs. Thanks, John, for telling us more about why we put this console together. And we hope that you've learned a little bit more about the Neo X Series and what it can do. Now, if you want to learn more about the console, as Edward mentioned, we do have a wide range of training videos that are already available on YouTube with more to come. And of course, you can always reach out to our sales team or our support staff to learn more. And go to Vari-Lite.com to learn everything you need to know about the new Neo X Series.